investing is a very addictive job.
What are your thoughts on cryptocurrency? Ascending order में you have to put things. Money, power, relationship, time.
तो आप लोगों का स्वागत है विनर्स ओनली के पहले पॉडकास्ट के अंदर। इसमें हमारे साथ हैं बहुत ही ज्यादा स्पेशल गेस्ट मिस्टर निखिल कामत। ये है को-फाउंडर ज़ेरोधा के इंडिया का सबसे बड़ा फाइनेंस प्लेटफॉर्म। इनकी कंपनी हजारों करोड़ों में हर साल पैसे कमाती है और हम भी क्वेश्चन ऐसे पूछने की कोशिश करेंगे ताकि आपको भी पता चल जाए आप अपनी लाइफ में पैसे कैसे कमा सकते हैं, अपनी लाइफ को अपग्रेड कैसे कर सकते हैं और कैसे मस्त मस्त चीजें आप सीख सकते हैं मिस्टर निखिल से। तो लेट्स गो।
तो मैं थोड़ा सा इंट्रो दे देता हूँ जस्ट टू गिव यू रेफरेंस पॉइंट की वेयर आई एम कमिंग फ्रॉम। तो आई वाज दिस, आई डिडंट नो हाउ टू स्पीक। मैं लड़कों से मम्मी से पापा से आई कुडंट स्पीक टू एनीबॉडी एंड आई वाज दिस वेरी इनसिक्योर किड और आई डिड नॉट नो एनीथिंग। आई वुड कॉल माई सेल्फ लाइक आई डिड नॉट नो एनीथिंग अबाउट बिजनेस, एनीथिंग अबाउट स्पोर्ट्स, एनीथिंग, नथिंग। बट when I went to my college, तो I met a friend who helped me. उसने मेरे को stage पे भेजा and I started doing theatre and then I realized कि after doing theatre on stage for the first time for an introvert kid, I just realized कि maybe I'm not an introvert.
Right.
Maybe I never learned how to speak.
Right.
So that thing changed my life और I just started trying new things and one thing after another I started working for NGOs and businesses and other things. I did all of that in my college and nothing worked, but I decided that because I started making videos to help people. I used to get like 100 views, 50 views ऐसा type, but I decided कि नहीं, हम YouTuber ही बनेंगे और that's how I took the journey and I started building up a team and I started scaling things and I started making steps one by one. शुरू में it was very depressing because सब जैसे मैं घर गया ना तो सब बोलते कि इंजीनियरिंग के लिए भेजा था but you didn't do anything. But I scaled up everything and now it is a team of 70 people and we have we have started products and we are scaling in the content space and it has been almost 10 years in the content space. So that is a little bit about me and I am also very very passionate about technology. I would love to hear a little bit of your backstory also, just ऐसे start करने के लिए
ठीक है
कि आपका एक like quick short ऐसे journey कैसा रहा बचपन से अभी तक।
start करते हैं।
हाँ you of course you can start.
Grew up in actually मैंने 3 साल हरियाणा में बिताए थे when I was really young. I think between the age group of 4 to 7 or 4 to 8, the dad used to work for Canara Bank. He was posted in Karnal for those 3 years. Came back to Bangalore when I was about 7 or 8. एक school है South Bangalore में called Oxford. I went there, studied up until the 10th. Then I started working. So worked first in a call center at the age of 17. I got a first job, which was a full-time job. But I started trading at the same time. I'm much older than you. I'm 36 today. So I'm talking 19 years ago. And for the last 19 years of my life, trading has been this one passion. I would say trading, research, investing, public equity, private equity, debt, commodities, different kind of asset classes. And every business I've been a part of since has been ancillary to investing. So it could be stockbroking, it could be asset management like this office we are in, it could be venture capital, private equity. जो भी किया है has happened very much from a very investing mentality and I think I got lucky to figure out what I like doing very early in life.
So do you think कि we should do what we like doing?
100%.
Or should we just do what is because I have this philosophy कि when I do something that I love, a lot of times it might not be the right thing. ऐसा कि जैसे मेरा अगर से डांस करने का बहुत ज़्यादा मन है तो I would rather कि डांस करने से पैसा नहीं बनेगा, तो आई वुड रादर चूज समथिंग.
But is that true? Do you like dancing?
No. I like design.
Right.
Actually started with design, but it didn't work. So I started making YouTube videos because it was something I was good at. But essentially not too much liked at all.
Right.
मतलब ऐसा type. But you spoke a lot about आपको पैसे से बहुत ज़्यादा involvement हमेशा से ही रहा है. तो like when did it start? कि how did you like get involved with trading और मतलब ये पैसे का influence कहाँ से आया?
I think हम लोग सब you know, we're all driven by our insecurities in a manner we don't realize. जैसे I think the most, if you read any book on psychology, it will tell you the most formative years of your brain are when you're probably between the ages of 3 to 8 to 10, you know. Your subconscious gets ingrained with thoughts even before you're consciously thinking them by virtue of your childhood. So, you know, all humans want what they don't have too much of, and maybe at some level in my subconscious, as a child, I always knew I wanted access to things which I might not have had back then, and hence ये पैसे कमाने का, I think for the lack of a better word, the hunger to make money has always existed, like I think it does in most people. But I think the lucky part in my own journey has been finding trading as early as I did. So this investing is a very addictive job, you know. I would say like in the last 18-19 years that I've been an investor, there would probably be 2-3 days when markets are on and I've not been in front of my terminals by virtue of, you know, being sick, you know, hospital or whatever. But most often, 99.9999% of the time, if markets are open, I will be there. Not today necessarily because of money, but because of the addiction over the last 18-19 years. But wanting to make money started at a very young age, like I think it does in everybody. Different people mask it, or different people recognize it in a different manner. But we all want at some subconscious level what we don't have, right? I think it started there.
Have your thoughts about money changed? कि like पहले आप like पैसे को एक तरीके से देखते थे, and after as life has grown, as you have started to make more money, or as you have started to grow, or mindset growth, has it changed?
Yeah. At the very beginning, money was access. It helped me get stuff I did not have. It kind of like, you know, something you've been looking forward to for a long time but have not been able to get it by virtue of money. You know, the way capitalism defines society is very much by order of how much money you're able to make, and by virtue of that you get access. So I would say that was very prevalent in me at the very beginning, but today it has changed. I feel today money has become more freedom. Freedom to try new things, fail at some of them, and still not have to kind of like, you know, go back to zero and restart. That ability to try new stuff, the ability to pick who you work with, the ability to a certain extent to pick what you do with your time, those are the big advantages of money in life today.
Okay, so essentially initially it was just access, or अब वो like it has expanded to freedom. What would you do if you had infinite money?
From a material standpoint, I don't think I would change much. Like, this is like a very honest answer, but I probably spend significantly less money today than I did a few years ago, when I made significantly less money than I did today, making money in the traditional sense. So I don't think anything different would happen in day-to-day life. I would have the same friends, I would do pretty much the same routine, but I think your ability to try new things grows up exponentially, right? If I had more money and I want to take a project which is really big and attempt something new.
What would give an example of that big of a project?
बहुत कुछ है यार, like what have I been thinking of late, like something around we've been talking about creating this carbon exchange where when a carbon tax were to come about in the world, a exchange which maps and allows people to trade carbon credits essentially more effectively, I think is a great idea. But that pragmatically is so far away in India, and I think it will take many years to come by. So right now it doesn't seem practical to allocate so much money and time and effort into building something like that.
Okay.
But if you had unlimited money, you could try this, you could try something else and something else, and try unlimited number of new ideas, right?
I think मेरे को this my thought कि हमारे दिमाग में we cannot think what is not possible. ऐसा टाइप कि a dog can only think he cannot, मतलब एक डॉग कभी सोच नहीं सकता बिजनेस स्टार्ट करने के बारे में, एक कैट कभी सोच नहीं सकती है जैसे माउंट एवरेस्ट क्लाइम करने के बारे में. एंड दैट इज़ व्हाट आई ऑल्सो थिंक कि हमारे दिमाग में ऐसा कोई आइडिया आ ही नहीं सकता जो हम कर नहीं सकते, विच इज़ नॉट अ पॉसिबिलिटी. वॉट एवर वी थिंक वी कैन डू टू सम एक्सटेंट. एंड I believe like money essentially allows us to do वो सारी चीज़ें. तो how would you call money? Is it like a resource? Is it like freedom? या फिर is it, if you were to give just one word कि हाँ this is money, or हाँ.
I would say money is a tool to get freedom. Money for me today might be freedom, but money for him might be something else, for somebody else might be something else. I think in different phases of your life your definition of money will change, but the most apt one for me in my life where I am today is probably freedom to try stuff, freedom to kind of like fail at 2-3 things and not have to go back to zero and restart. In a very candid way, I'll tell you that since I've been doing the same job for so long, if you were to ask me, will you be able to restart and do it all over again? The answer I tell myself in my own head is no chance. I don't think the energy, the hunger, the gumption, all of that like it existed in my maybe late teens or early 20s, it's very hard to replicate. And outside of replicating that, I feel like companies work not just by virtue of people who build the company, but a bigger part is played by what you're trying to build at what point of time. So for the things that we did, the time that we did it in was right. If we had to do exactly the same thing today, would probably not work as well. So you have to give cognizance to the timing and the luck element. In many cases, like आप हमारी बात सोच लो, like you or me, right? Like you're a very successful YouTuber and popular and all of that. But for both of us, if we were to think, are there 10,000 people who are smarter, more hardworking, more hungry out there in the world today? There definitely are. Maybe like, not 10,000 but 100,000. The reason for success in many ways is a factor of all these moving parts that one can't really put into a box and say because of A, B, C, D, E, X worked and replicate it in a way. So considering how lucky I've gotten, considering the journey, considering all the helpful people along the way, my colleagues, everybody who has played such a big role in it, today at this point money for me is access, is no longer just access but is freedom.
So just like you were talking about ki, the reasons why ki paisa, let's say you made money or success and all of that, and I think you also said a little bit about luck, but अगर आपको बताना हो कि मे बी ऐसा होगा कि लाइक देयर वुड बी 100 थिंग्स एंड 50 कंट्रोल में नहीं है, 50 इज़ लाइक आपके कंट्रोल में नहीं है, बट दीज आर द 50 जो आपको सक्सेसफुल वुड इंक्रीज द चांसेस ऑफ योर सक्सेस. सो उनमें से जो टॉप 5 हों कि इफ़ यू डू दीज, लेट्स से इफ दीज आर इन योर लाइफ स्टाइल और योर माइंड सेट और लेट्स से योर स्किल, या फिर कुछ भी ऐसी 5 चीज़ें जो यू वुड से कि these contributed the most to who you are and your success and the money you have.
You're not talking about external factors but more internal ones.
External भी चलेगा. If you are talking about a group of people who surrounded
Yeah.
you or anything,
I
whatever
think
you feel.
that by far is the biggest factor. The people around me, right? Like including my colleagues, my family, my brother, like all these people have played the biggest part in my journey. That would probably be followed up by जो भी हमारे businesses scale up हुए बहुत जल्दी. You know, the biggest one we started was the broking company in 2009 2010. It happened right after the 2008 financial crisis. Nobody was spending any real money in innovation or trying to change things around. Like fintech as a word was still not even mainstream back then, right? I'm talking 13 saal pehle or 14 years ago.
100%.
And ever since then, markets, not just in India but across the world, have witnessed a one-directional bull run. And for a cyclical business like that, to have started it exactly that time, I think we were very fortunate for the timing of it. So I would give highest importance to people, the first one. Second would be timing. Without euphemizing too much, if I had to say something about the 2% that I might have contributed is, I think I'm obsessive about things that I do, and if I'm doing one thing, the general tendency is to overdo it, ignore other facets of my life, which I've realized later in life is such a wrong thing to do. But you know, I've spent like many years living in my office. I used to have a bed in my cabin, and so I can obsessively do one thing for many years. You know, as you're younger than me, I can, you know, even give you like a little suggestion or advice. You realize later in life that success and happiness is never derived from one facet of your life, but in living life in a more holistic manner. All those, you know, birthdays of friends, anniversary of parents, weddings of friends, all of that you miss while you're being obsessive in one thing will one day lead you to a spot where you might have achieved what you set out to, and you know, you might have gotten what you wanted, but it will leave you feeling a little bit hollow, and then you will want to restart your life and live to make up for all of that. But in many cases it'll be too late, because you know, say for example you have parents, you're like 26 27, right? Your parents might be 50 years old. What you can do with them now in terms of taking them on a holiday or spending time with them, it will not be the same when you realize this 10 years from now and you look back. So when I look back at that time, like I was saying, as you're 10 years younger than me, don't evaluate success through one lens or one facet, but look at it from an overall sense where you're not only doing this thing which you're doing incredibly well, but you're paying attention to the other domains in your life as well.
So agar if let's say we'll start with the first one, ki if someone, let's say, who is, let's say, a 16-year-old, he has to he needs great people around him. So what does he have to do if he has like toxic friends and all of it? What do you suggest? Ki like they remove the people that are not good, or they try to add more people?
I think I realized this again late in life, that having fewer friends is better than having many acquaintances. And if you have 4 or 5 people you can call friends, and I mean friends in the manner जैसे कि वो आपके लिए empathize कर सके, they take pride in your success, and they have empathy when things don't go in your direction. Friends like that, like really non-toxic, healthy friendships. I think 5 is a lot to be able to maintain and service in a manner of speaking. So you often find out very easily who is toxic and who is not. The best thing to do is, like, remove that toxicity as early as you can and hang around people who are essentially not just takers, who are not taking stuff from you emotionally, psychologically, but also giving, and they're contributing to your life. And I don't think you need a lot of knowledge or wisdom to be able to arrive at who is toxic and who is not. Innately we all have that ability to judge, and I think making that decision early is important.
Would you also credit it to how, like, because we are talking about people, तो आपने अपनी टीम को कैसे क्यूरेट करा कि you hired the best people that you were able to find, और you कि अगर let's say किसी को Zerodha में जॉब भी चाहिए, तो what would be the best chance कि उसको जॉब मिले, कि like what is the hiring criteria, या फिर how did you select the initial people, or how do you select people?
So I can't take much credit for selecting the people that we did, but I'll tell you this. The people who are the management team of Zerodha are all friends. We valued them as friends first, and then formed the professional relationship. Like our head of people is somebody whose brother-in-law I used to work with at a call center, and maybe 16-17 years ago he came about to our office and started hanging out. His name is Hanan. He wanted to like learn trading and trade from there. So through these 16 years he has been with us. Our COO is somebody I used to play gully cricket with when I was 10 years old. His father was a colleague of my father. Somebody else who's on the team, like obviously Nitin, my brother, my partner, I think I would give him more credit for bringing this team together. But Karthik is another guy who was friends with us from a very young age. Kailash again, our CTO, probably the most important and evolved member of the team, again has been a part of us and a friend and like family for about 10 years now. So we valued relationship and friendship to some extent when we got people on board, and I would give credit to these people who in turn hired and did a great job at it. But I think from like just looking at them, I can tell you that they don't give much precedence to things like qualification and degree and formal education, but they take a different approach to hiring people, where they actually try to get into it and figure out what skill set who has and then hire.
I've heard a lot about कि I've seen कि जैसे you only send Zerodha से 12 notifications an year, and you value जो trust है and जो I think जो एक customer की loyalty है उसको Zerodha values a lot. So how do you think कि like how much of it would you say कि values या एक philosophy जो है इस उसने role play करा?
I think at the very core of it, don't do upon others what you wouldn't do to yourself, right? Like, you know how many messages you probably get and how much spam calling you get on a daily basis. Why would you want to subject another human being to that? Because I get a lot, and I think it's torture. Like, I have Truecaller, I have blocked numbers, but still I get I don't know, 50, 100 calls a day, and maybe like hundreds of messages a day, where people are, just chasing you. Especially this happens when, you just register a new company with MCA, you take a new phone connection, you enter your name down in some application. Somebody leaks your number, and you're inundated with so much nonsense and calls all through the week, right? Like, it feels like crap, and we all know it does. So when we don't like it being done to us, I don't think it's right for us to do it to someone else.
Is there like a core philosophy ki this is why like Zerodha ki ye philosophy hai?
I would,
चीज़ों को
in
लेके?
fact, like our CTO, the guy Kailash Nath, he wrote a post about this on disengagement in a way. I think at the core, the philosophy is very much जो आपको अच्छा नहीं लगे जब दूसरे आपसे आपको करे, तो आप खुद वो मत करो. I think essentially, very simply, that's the philosophy.
Okay. Have you what are your opinions on क्योंकि in the tech space Twitter is very popular and a lot of people critique tech on Twitter और सारी चीज़ें, but Elon Musk just bought Twitter. He took over, and you did you see the video? He is coming with a sink, and I think that was the caption like let that sink in. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts about Twitter and in general कि like क्या हो सकता है social media के साथ?
Yeah, I would like to say, like, I think Elon Musk is an incredible individual, right? All that he has achieved. I think people often forget that he's also a human being, right? Like, why do you judge someone to another? Why do you compare him to some godlike figure, whereas you're not able to introspect and compare yourself to anything? Like, I don't think it's right for us not to judge ourselves, but to judge this incredible human being. I feel people are too harsh to him. Like, I've been seeing all the critique going on about Elon Musk on Twitter, like ever since the last 2 weeks. At the end of the day, wo bhi hai, he's a human being. I think he, in all fairness, the way he deals with it, the amount of humor he has when he responds, I think it takes a lot, and he must be a really strong person to pull it off while you're getting trolled like that. So I've had the unfortunate experience of being trolled a couple of times in life. I know how it feels. So to watch him get trolled on a global scale by literally everybody, but still have humor in his replies and take it and respond and all of that, I'm in awe of the guy. I think I'm even more impressed because he just didn't do it for a short period of time. Now he's been at it for years, right?
Do you watch videos or social media content? How actively do you consume it?
I try not to. I mean, I love podcasts and tech stuff and like looking at information download, but anything which is not information but opinion, I try and avoid as much as I can. But I like podcasts a lot. I like this Lex Friedman guy, the Russian guy. So I try and watch all that he puts out, and he puts out really long form content.
Yeah.
Like some of his podcasts are 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours. So it is a bit painful to catch all of them. But I like the kind of content he puts out because he's so eclectic. जैसे कि आज he'll go interview a rapper, tomorrow he'll be like some scientist, day after tomorrow he'll be a neurologist. So the eclectic nature of his content is very appealing.
Okay, so mostly it's information or something that you can learn from.
Yeah, opinion pieces I'm not a fan of because opinions are very transient. What somebody thinks of something or someone today will be totally different from what they think about that person or that thing in 3 days, right? Like, judgment is fleeting and transient and constantly passing, and I don't think there is much to gain from listening to people's judgment of other people or other things.
And Lex Friedman, I also watched some of his podcasts. he talks a lot about crypto,
Hmm.
a lot about investing also. But what are your thoughts on cryptocurrencies?
Well, now it's easy to kind of like be critical of crypto after all that has happened, right? Like, uh, I have never uh, had an experience firsthand with crypto, in the sense I've never bought one, or I've never mined one, or I've never been part of anything remotely crypto or NFT or blockchain related, even to that extent. Uh, I'm I've applied. I'm getting some of the beta version of CBDC, Indian government's.
Okay.
Yeah, so that will be my first tryst with anything blockchain remotely to that sense. I feel like a lot of people oversell these concepts so much online. Most people who are selling it don't understand it themselves, which is a pity, because every second new kid out there is going on and on about Web3 and blockchain and Web3 and blockchain. And when you often, like, at my venture firm, when you actually research the company and ask them what are you doing using this technology, often it's nothing. It's a big inflection of what underneath is very simple in these companies, but they use these as catchphrases, so it's fairly disappointing. But personally, I've had no experience firsthand with anything crypto.
Did you hear about the
FTX.
FTX
Yeah,
crash?
of course. I think there is nobody on the planet who hasn't heard about it right now. Whenever they make a movie about it, I think it'll be amazing. Especially if Michael Lewis is writing the book about it.
Yeah, $32 billion in
Yeah.
one day. I think this is the biggest crash that has ever happened.
Hmm.
And what do you think? Like, crypto जा रहा है, ऊपर जा रहा है, नीचे जा रहा है, like, or is it like कि you don't know अभी के, like you have to experience it a little bit, क्योंकि इंडिया में भी you see जैसे आप भी थोड़ा सा बता रहे थे, डिजिटल करेंसी एंड डिजिटल कॉइन सारी चीज़ें इंट्रोड्यूस हो रही हैं.
I think there are clear advantages to RBI's coin, CBDC, especially when it comes to things like remittances from another country. Right now, existing players take 3 days to 4 days to send money back from, say, a Gulf to Kerala, or from US to Karnataka, and they charge too much. If that cost goes down significantly, will help a lot of people. There is a lot of leakage in subsidy dissemination. Say you're a farmer, you need to be given X money for fertilizers. It's a good way to control कि you only buy fertilizers with that subsidy money. There are a bunch of advantages, like there are with crypto as well, I think. But I feel like the final iteration of crypto in a way has not arrived. I feel if we were to come upon a time when countries across the world become capital account convertible in a way, the currency becomes truly convertible. Say, for example, you're an Indian today and you have Indian rupees. If you want to go invest in another country or take out Indian rupees, convert it into the US dollar and invest outside, you have a cap, right? Like you can do about $250,000 a year, which is our LRS limit. Like Dubai does not have that cap, for example. Many countries are truly convertible. When the entire world becomes like that, and I think a MAT is coming, primarily because of all these tax havens having done as well as they have. I think many countries will come together and mandate a minimum tax that every country in the world has to charge. So when there is a MAT across the world, when all the countries open up and become truly convertible, I think at that point of time, the usage and need for something like this and the scale that something crypto might reach will be significantly higher.
I have seen a lot of things fall down in not just in crypto but also in the brokerage business. I've seen a lot of I would say frauds, companies that close down and your money vanishes in a day. How do you think all that happens? And अगर जैसे I've also seen like I've also it some banks के साथ भी काफ़ी सारी चीज़ें होती हैं, but India I think is a great country in terms की people don't, I think people don't appreciate इंडिया के बैंक्स को, क्योंकि जो बैंक्स फ्रॉड हैं और सारी चीज़ें इंडिया में काफ़ी कम होती है. दैट्स व्हाट आई थिंक. बट अब वो ब्रोकरेज बिजनेस में जो फ्रॉड्स होते हैं या फिर जो जैसे कंपनीज क्लोज डाउन हो जाती हैं, उनके बारे में आपके क्या थॉट्स हैं?
So I think the regulators in India, both SEBI, RBI, the government, they've done an incredible job. I'll give you my own example. I was trying to do a transaction with a foreign bank, a large global foreign bank. It took 3 phone recordings over 5 days. It was a dollar transaction. Physical forms that had to be signed. It took something like 7 days for my money to go from my Indian bank account to that bank account. It was meant to be an investment into a certain company. The value of the company had changed so much in that time. And they charged me something like $40-50 per transaction, maybe 15 bips of forex fees on currency conversion. They called 4 different times to ask for clarifications on things on the form which I had to physically sign that were not required at all. That same thing in India happens in a second without a fee. That in itself is incredible. I can't. I feel like this whole UPI, that ecosystem, in many ways, I know Nandan is from Bangalore, and he's been critical to this entire ecosystem. He's probably the I would call him a startup founder, innovator I look up to most because of how much impact his projects have created in the world. But I think the government here has done a tremendous job, especially when it comes to banking. And I think we need to take pride in the fact that Indian banking is so far ahead of a country like America. On the broking side, again, the regulations that SEBI has brought in place over the last 2-3 years, they brought down the leverage that is available to retail investors. They made sure brokers segregate client funds from their own funds. They made sure brokers send the client's money back to their bank account once every quarter for all the clients at once. Before, people would report how much margin you're using on an end of day basis. Now on an intraday basis, they check that if you're holding a certain position, the amount of money required to hold that position is actually there. So I think SEBI again has done an incredible job in shoring up diligence and compliance around brokers in the best way possible. And for both banks and brokers, by virtue of the tasks they've done or the changes they've made in the last few years, the likelihood of an Indian bank or an Indian broker failing, in my opinion, are significantly lower than most other developed geographies in the world. So I think, often people keep critiquing everybody, right? Like sometimes you have to compliment people on a job well done, and this is one such area. Even this Bitcoin thing, right? Like you could call it blind luck, but for the regulator of our country to essentially ban in a manner because of that TDS, it becomes irrelevant to trade crypto in India, right? But to do that 2 months preceding the crash in crypto saved so much money for so much retail, right?
Yeah, 100%. And 100% it saved a lot of money for a lot of people. And I think India has grown a lot. And I think we are also creating this podcast. हम भी ये चाहते हैं कि जो लोग इसको देख रहे हैं, they are able to take away things. And I think लोगों के पास intent है चीज़ों को करने का. But what do you think as a country, हमारे like things that you think कि अगर ये सारी चीज़ें हो जाए तो it would move us far far ahead.
It's a very broad question,
हाँ,
but
but anything like if you think कि mindset change कर रहा होना चाहिए
I
या
think
फिर
what you guys are doing is great. I think your influencers on social media are changing the goalpost in a way. Like हम पहले बात कर रहे थे, I think you're making the new heroes of new India entrepreneurs but not artists, and I think that change in itself will inspire and encourage thousands of capable young Indians who will take up entrepreneurship. I, I would say at the very ground level, that is the one big change which can help us grow at a faster pace. I think we need more people to come out there, risk their time, money, take chances, try to start companies, build new product in an open market. By virtue of the capitalistic ecosystem that we live in, I hope that doesn't change. But I think increased entrepreneurship will lead to India growing at a faster pace than we have witnessed.
do you think everybody should try being an entrepreneur? सबको
Why-
business करके देखना
Why
चाहिए?
not? I think, right? Like, if you are employed by someone and your employer can make your employer can take 10 of you and together create more value than the 10 of you are getting paid, that means you're adding more value to a company than you're getting paid for. And I think most people, I would in fact say everybody is capable of being an entrepreneur, and I would suggest that more and more people try it.
And just like you said कि people get paid and they make money, and you're also talking about trading. So when you trade, someone loses money, someone makes money, and money moves from one place, one person to another, or one institution to another. Do you think everybody in the world can become rich?
Rich is a very ambiguous word, but if the question is, can we move everybody from low income to middle income, and should that be the drive of a nation as big as India? I would say, yeah, I would say definitely. Why not? And also, when you're investing or trading, if you're trading cash settled derivative contracts, one person loses but another person makes. But if you buy equity in a company, say you buy 100 shares of Reliance, and Reliance next year does more profits than this year, and the year after that more profits and more profit, and the value of Reliance as a company by virtue of that goes up, everybody makes money, right?
So essentially, everybody can, to some extent, they can move above survival.
No, I think they can do much better than that. I feel often people say कि इसमें इतना talent था इसलिए इसने अच्छा किया, वो इतना intelligent था. I feel like that's all rubbish. I feel when you're born, most of us are very similar. Our experiences and circumstances inculcate us into being who we are as people. So I feel like anybody can do well. Public perception or peer group perception and judgment of who is good and who is bad is often relevant. तो अगर कोई बोल रहा है कि आप इतने capable नहीं हो क्योंकि आपको शायद कॉलेज में कम मार्क्स मिल रहे हैं or whatever, I think you've just not recognized your own skill set and your strength yet. But everybody is capable of being an entrepreneur, being a very successful one, and running businesses.
And also you were talking about college के marks and everything. So how was your experience with the education system? या फिर मतलब like आपका पढ़ाई के साथ कैसा relation रहा है? एकदम सीधा सीधा
very bad. Very bad. सीधा आंसर, very bad. कभी कॉलेज नहीं गए, बट even before college, I don't think I was in school the best student. I was somebody who would get 75% marks, kind of a thing. So
So like how would you define कि why do you think कि a lot of successful people they're not good in school या college या ऐसा type?
I don't think that's true. I feel अगर आप if you look at a larger size, right? Like if you look at 10,000 people, college educated, better college educated people who have gotten higher marks will probably have done better in life. These exceptions that you're talking about, I think their story is exaggerated to a certain extent, because it sounds nicer when you say, oh, ye college nahi kiya, but isne ye kiya, right? Like, so it kind of like becomes more spoken, it gets spoken about a lot more.
What did you not like about, क्योंकि I kind of have a similar experience, क्योंकि मेरे को ऐसा थोड़ा सा कॉलेज के टाइम पे ऐसा थोड़ा सा बंधा सा लगता था. आई फेल्ट वेरी कॉट अप, और ऐसा लगता था कि लाइक वाई जस्ट दिस, वाई आई कांट डू सो मच मोर, या फिर मे बी 5 सब्जेक्ट होते तो आई ओनली लाइक्ड वन, ऐसा टाइप. तो what were the things you did not like and what were the things that you maybe even appreciate?
So it was a two-way relationship, right? It's not like I didn't like it. They also didn't like me. So I think it went hand in hand, but I don't think I enjoyed studying. Yeah, like I don't think I enjoyed. It's strange because I love reading, and like I'd have read like lots of books on many different subjects. Like I've transitioned in my own personal space from reading about economics and finance to I read more about history and psychology today. But I think the kind of books and the kind of information I was learning in school was not very enticing to me. It did not interest me so much, the subjects that they were trying to teach.
Do you think this, I've heard a lot about I've seen a lot of Ray Dalio videos. He talks about the economic cycle and
I love his
कैसे
videos, yeah.
History repeats itself. Do you think कि like ऐसा हिस्ट्री जैसे, क्योंकि इन ऑल्सो फैशन ऑल्सो कि जो पुराने 20-20 साल पे ट्रेंड रिपीट होते हैं, एंड वी ऑल्सो सी दैट स्टॉक मार्केट के अंदर, इंडस्ट्रीज के अंदर सारी चीज़ें. डू यू थिंक इट replicates itself history, or like
to a certain extent?
Okay.
Stock markets में ना एक there's an entire field called technical analysis. One could argue there is nothing technical about technical analysis. It's more pattern recognition, but there is a wide community of people who believe that patterns recur, and they recur at very similar intervals. I personally don't buy into that school of thought. I think market activity driven by sentiment is a bit more random. So if somebody were to start off investing, I would probably advise to focus more on researching balance sheets and being more fundamental in your research than going technical. Yeah, but that's a very personal thing. That's what I believe in. Somebody else will be a big champion of the technical analysis or pattern recognition course.
अच्छा, तो what are your thoughts अभी, क्योंकि इकोनॉमी इंडिया में काफ़ी सारी चीज़ें have been doing well, but there are a lot of signs की चीज़ें slow down हो रही हैं in the investment space, and even इंडिया के बाहर भी you see foreign markets, इन्फ्लेशन है, सोशल टेंशन्स थोड़ी बहुत हैं. व्हाट डू यू थिंक कि इकोनॉमी, कुड देयर बी अ रिसेशन नियर बाय, एंड मतलब हाउ कैन पीपल प्रिपेयर, और इज इट टू सम एक्सटेंट, व्हाट आर योर थॉट्स अबाउट रिसेशन इन जनरल?
So recession again is very subjective. Every country defines recession in their own way. जैसे कि अमेरिका बोलता है कि 2 consecutive quarters of -1% GDP growth is their version of recession.
But they changed it.
Ah, ah. So one could argue that US at some level is in a recession.
Uh-huh.
I would say going into winter, a lot of European countries can also be considered in a recession. India, on the other hand, like, I keep talking to investors from many countries. Many funds are, housed in Japan and the US, and a lot of money comes into India from the West. People are very optimistic about India for 2-3 reasons. They might be pessimistic about America, the Americans I'm talking about, but they love India as a market. Now, we're not cheap, right? Like, India is now probably trading at 20 and a half, 21 times forward earnings. We're expecting earnings to grow by 12% in the next 3-4 years. Those are the estimates. Let's say in the last decade we grew at about 7%. So relative to most world economies, we have seen a much lower correction. We're almost at all-time highs today. People really love India in today's ecosystem, because China has somehow like completely shut down to the world of capitalism. They're increasingly looking like they're, I would not like to say going back to their communist past, but they're moving away from capitalism. We also have this great privilege of having an incumbent government under Modi ji, which has been very consistent with policy direction for almost a decade now, and looks like that is set to continue. And the demographic dividend, we are a young country, there is a lot of potential, penetration numbers across industry are low. So people like India as a market for that reason, and I think they will continue to pump money into India. That is one side of the argument. The other side of the argument is inflation is 8%, GDP seems to be slowing down. If the cost of everything is increasing at 10%, but your income to buy those things is going up by 5%, one can argue, is that really the economy growing, right? So I'm optimistic about India in a relative world where I am much more pessimistic about the West. And what can one do? Probably diversification is the only way out. Most Indians tend to be very real estate heavy. हम लोग we park as much as 60-70% of our net worth in houses with 30-year loans and land and all of that. But I would suggest you move away from that, move into more liquid asset classes. कि कल कोई problem हो जाए, you can actually sell it without losing too much. So, build a portfolio where real estate comes down from 70 to maybe 30%, 35%. Put 10% of your net worth in gold. Put another 30% in risk-free fixed income. The advantage with inflation is when inflation goes up, interest rates also go up. Traditionally, interest rates will go up higher than inflation before inflation comes down. But even today, you're able to get 7.5% if you park your money in a bank with some kind of a lock-in. It could be 6 months or 1 year or whatever. So we did 35% land, maybe 10% gold, maybe another 20-30% in fixed income, which has no risk, and the balance 30% in equity. So get a bunch of different asset classes like this. Don't put a majority of your money in one thing, because I think if things were to get bad, that will hurt you the most.
And I think we talked a lot about your thoughts and investing, and but I would love to hear a little bit about technology also.
I am no expert in technology. Like, you have to teach me. Maybe you tell me your thoughts on technology.
100%. But which phone are you using?
I am using a 3.5 years old S20, which is...
It's also broken.
It's also broken, yeah.
You.
So my logic with phones is until they stop working, I don't switch.
Okay.
So I don't know when this came out. S20, I think this is. That was what? Now it's S24 or something, right?
It's S22.
Really?
Yeah.
So then 2 years old, two and a
Yeah.
half years old.
2.5
Every year
years
they
old.
put one new phone, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think I love technology, and I think it's just something.
Which phone are you using?
I'm using an iPhone, the iPhone 14 Pro Max. I prefer.
With a very fancy.
Yeah, it's we have created this product, layers.shop. But essentially, I think technology is very. What I feel about technology is very, very powerful. And I believe that we all are going to become rich in the next 10-15 years. And when I say rich, I mean ki sari cheezein would be free that are needed for survival.
I agree with you.
I think food मतलब खाना फ्री हो जाएगा क्योंकि खाना essentially फार्मिंग सारी रोबोट्स कर सकते हैं एंड वर्टिकल फार्मिंग एक बिल्डिंग में रोबोट्स कर सकते हैं वो सारी चीज़ें पका भी सकते हैं खाना कैन बिकम फ्री वाटर कैन बिकम फ्री अगर ऐसे समुद्र का पानी वी कैन जस्ट कन्वर्ट इट इनटू ड्रिंकेबल वाटर विच इज़ वेरी मच पॉसिबल बिजली वी कैन यूज सोलर एनर्जी एंड इट इज़ बीइंग डन कि आप छत पर लगा दो तो इलेक्ट्रिसिटी कैन बिकम फ्री एंड एसेंशली बाकी सारी जितनी चीज़ें हैं ट्रांसपोर्ट एंड ऑल ऑफ दैट एसेंशली बेसिक सर्वाइवल नीड्स जितनी हैं आई थिंक दे वुड ऑल बिकम फ्री एंड ऑल्सो इन्फॉर्मेशन इज़ फ्री ऑलरेडी अब किस एजुकेशन इज़ कम्प्लीटली फ्री कोई यूट्यूब पे खोल सकता है चीज़ें एंड इट इज़ ऑल फ्री सो आई थिंक द नेक्स्ट 10 years लोगों को कुछ बचेगा नहीं करने के लिए रोबोट सारी चीज़ें करेंगे एंड वी वुड ऑल बी लेफ्ट विद दिस क्रिएटिव लाइफ जिसमें हम जो करना चाहें वो कर लें तो दैट इज़ माई थॉट like the biggest thing I think technology would do.
I think I agree with you. I was just watching one podcast today, Lex Friedman only. He was interviewing Kamath, and Kamath was talking about energy becoming free across the world, and it made so much sense. I feel like if you were to take away utility companies and all the companies that are set to gain from disseminating, generating power in the old school manner that they are, the cost of solar now is almost like lower than traditional. So I think that that transition will happen very quickly.
And I think also saw a lot of we have been very exposed to the new things that have been happening. So I have seen things in the AR space जिसमें you put on goggles and चीज़ हो जाती है. Which is your favorite piece of technology?
So this is a good question for you. As an investor, do you think Facebook, which is now Meta, I've been holding their equity for a long time and it has corrected abysmally, right? It's down 70% this year. Do you think Facebook will be able to... I've attempted using the Oculus. It gives me a headache in 1 hour. I've been on the metaverse, seen a couple of things which looks very not even game-like, but game-like from 10 years ago. Do you think Facebook will be able to pull off the metaverse in the manner that they're investing money behind it? And do you think, as a tech entrepreneur, do you think that is the future?
I will tell you my opinion. I don't know what is going to happen, but I can only say what I felt. I felt कि currently it feels कि unrealistic. It
पुराना
feels like
video game जैसा है.
हाँ, it feels unnatural कि ये तो ऐसा तो नहीं होना चाहिए कि इतना बड़ा headset लगा के कोई नहीं बैठेगा. But what I feel is कि everything is unnatural. The medicines that we eat are unnatural. The food that we eat is very unnatural. It is being packed. Everything around us is to some extent unnatural. Mobile phones or even video calls are not natural. And I think it is just क्योंकि I have experienced it, and what I've seen is कि मैं headset ऐसे लगाता हूँ, and I've seen different types of headset, and आप चीज़ें experience करो तो if you go to let's say mountain वाली आप कोई imagery देख रहे हो तो आप actually नीचे देखोगे तो पसीना आने लगता है, you start sweating and वो fear आता है, वो सारे emotions feel होते हैं, and I think हम as humans we are driven by emotion, और हम ज़्यादातर चीज़ें इन इमोशंस के अराउंड ही चीज़ें करते हैं. जैसे इवन इफ़ आई सी, मैं क्रिकेट देख रहा हूँ तो 11 लोग हैं वो खड़े हुए हैं, एक बंदा बैट से एक डंडे से बॉल को मार रहा है, तो वाई आर वी सो एक्साइटेड अबाउट अ बॉल बीइंग हिट बाय अ बैट. आई थिंक इट्स ऑल द इमोशन जो है जो बहुत ड्राइविंग फोर्स है, और सेम मेरे को सोशल मीडिया पे भी फील होता है. तो आई थिंक एनीथिंग दैट कैन एम्पलीफाई दैट इमोशनल एक्सपीरियंस would work. Right now बस दिक्कत ये है कि अभी it is not functional enough to be able to be comfortably used. And वो कुछ purpose solve नहीं कर पा रही है, but ज़्यादातर चीज़ों हो सकता है purpose solve ना भी करना हो. काफ़ी सारी चीज़ें don't have to make sense. A lot of sports don't make sense, dancing does not make sense, a lot of things that we do logical ऐसे कोई sense नहीं है, but I am very optimistic about AR क्योंकि I have seen prototypes जिसमें वो चश्मा
more
जो
AR over VR.
yes, more AR over VR. I would call it mixed reality जो है ना, वो अच्छा है जिसमें mix हो जाता है कि like real life and वो सारी चीज़ें mix हो जाती हैं. I think वो मेरे को अच्छा.
So some iteration of जो Google Glass आता था, something like that.
हाँ, and I think it would be even better. I think it would be even better. And what I feel is कि not just the glass, but also एक body suit could be there, which कि if you're traveling,
it warms
let's
you
say it warms you up. If you're traveling to a cold place, it will cool you down. If there is a windy, there would be windy sensation. And I've also seen ऐसे कि because right now you're not able to interact. So let's say if you hold a glass, I've seen prototypes where कि होता क्या है essentially when you hold a glass, ये ऐसे glass में resistance है, तो उसमें प्रोटोटाइप में क्या था कि जैसे when you hold it, उसमें मोटर्स थी तो उसमें रेजिस्टेंस आती थी. इट फील्स लाइक यू आर होल्डिंग ऑन टू समथिंग.
हैप्टिक्स.
हाँ, इट्स एसेंशियली नॉट इवन हैप्टिक्स, बट इट्स लाइक एक रेजिस्टेंस मोटर कि इट स्टॉप्स योर हैंड फ्रॉम गोइंग फार इनफ. तो आई थिंक ऑल ऑफ दीज थिंग्स when added up, they are present here and there and all of these elements, but when they add up and create a full experience, I think it would be exponentially powerful. And it would completely destroy anything that we use today, like smartphones and TVs and all of that, because once VR gets there, you won't need TVs, you won't need cinemas, you won't need mobiles, you won't need almost everything. That the size of screen would not matter. That's what I feel.
I think the one big disadvantage with smartphones is you still have to take them out from your pocket and look at them.
Yeah.
Like glasses in AR, for example. I think that one change, that fraction of whatever time you can save, I think will be a game changer one day.
What else do you think कि ये टेक्नोलॉजी में ये अगर आता है तो बहुत बढ़िया रहेगा?
ऐसे कुछ ज़्यादा तो मैं जानता नहीं हूँ टेक्नोलॉजी के बारे में, बट आई थिंक इफ़ योर व्हाट इज़ दैट थिंग व्हिच Elon Musk is a part of?
Neuralink.
हाँ, Neuralink. I think that's an interesting idea.
हाँ, it's like we wouldn't have to do this podcast.
We could just sit here and look at each other, right?
हाँ, we could just be. But also I've seen a lot of people who meditate be able to do that to
Like
some
telepathy.
extent. हाँ, to some extent. Like they're able to feel emotions दूर से, ऐसा type. Do you have any experience in meditation?
मैंने ट्राई किया है बहुत. Like I just came back from Rishikesh. I spent 8 days in doing a meditation and yoga course. The problem is my attention span is not that long. I feel like beyond 30 minutes for me to concentrate on one thing, my mind is in like 2-3 different places. So try to kiya hai, but I've not excelled at it. I've tried those apps. वो है ना काम है. Indian, there's a new app called Ayu. So I've tried a bunch of different things, but not successfully.
But also I think trading में भी और जैसे इन्वेस्टिंग भी है. डू यू थिंक टेक्नोलॉजी ऐसे कोई ब्रेक थ्रू आएगा कि लाइक रोबोट्स या फिर एआई हमसे बेटर ट्रेड कर रहा होगा?
मेरे ख्याल से the day true AI, like, comes and you have a sentient being, right? I think the world changes as we know it. But there is no true AI up until then, right? We are all mimicking and learning from past behavior in one form or another. That's like my little 2 cents understanding of it. A lot of that already exists in the trading world. Many people feed loads of data into a neural network, look for patterns, look at what they should do. But eventually, yeah, in the next few years, I don't think anything will change drastically. अभी जो है ना ज़्यादातर टेक्नोलॉजी इन्वेस्टिंग एंड ट्रेडिंग इज़ मोर टूवर्ड्स एग्जीक्यूशन, लेस टूवर्ड्स लॉजिक. So people are not successfully determining what they should buy, but they are more buying more efficiently using technology.
अच्छा. मेरा नेक्स्ट वाला क्वेश्चन इज अ लिटिल बिट अबाउट कि आपको ना असेंडिंग ऑर्डर में यू हैव टू पुट थिंग्स. सो you have to put them in a list of priorities 1 2 3 4. First is money, second is power, third is relationships, fourth is time.
Time one. Time is one, definitely. You said time, money, power, relationship.
Yeah.
Time is one. Not to lie on your podcast, I would say money, power, relationships. Time, money, power, relationships. And I know I am wrong in my order and I need to fix it and put relationships higher up the order. But I'm saying this order because I have not been successful in that attempt yet.
Do you think for being successful you need to sacrifice a lot of मतलब ऐसे पर्सनल लाइफ सैक्रिफाइस करनी पड़ती है?
बिल्कुल.
when it comes to relationships with
100%. I have sacrificed. बिल्कुल, of course, yeah. You start, like मैं बोल रहा था ना आपको, like literally in the last 19 years, if markets are on, if I have not been working, if I have not been in front of my terminals, there have been 3 days or 4 days, and those days I was in the hospital. Otherwise, I've been in front of my terminals. If I'm on holiday, if I've had a wedding I've not gone to, like, some friend ki shaadi, all of these events which people often have, I've skipped. And I think many people like me have also skipped. Like you might have done to a certain extent as well. You will have your own sacrifices that you've made. I think these are not visible, but somehow they are one of the raw ingredients into getting that traditional form of scale in a business and getting to a certain position.
You आप बता रहे थे कि हिस्ट्री के बारे में आप बुक्स पढ़ते हैं. What kind of books? Like किस तरह की history?
All kinds of history are like there was one time when I got obsessed with Nazi history, and I was like, how could one man become what he became? But more intriguing to me was how was he successful at what he was attempting to do. So I spent a lot of time on that. So Hitler and his generals, everybody has a story, right? Like there was Goering, there was Goebbels. Each kind of like general of his life had a story of their own. The Luftwaffe, the guy who ran the Air Force, which was instrumental. So let's say one phase is German history for like a few months or a year. There'll be another phase which goes like way back in time, and Greek history. So people like Plato, Socrates, Aristotle. The thing I love about Greek history more than all others is they never preached. They were probably the least preachy philosophers of their time, and their entire thing was curiosity. Like Socrates was, one could argue that he was killed. Like the court kind of like commissioned his death, right? And one could argue it was because of his questioning of what is religion, why is religion, stuff like that. But I think that is the most important thing in anybody's development. We have that as children. When you're a child, you learn so much, you absorb so much information because you go around questioning everything. As you grow older, you grow ego as you grow, right? Like at some point this happens to many people, that they start feeling embarrassed to ask questions, thinking there will be judgment of one sort or another from the other side. So I'm fascinated by Greek history for the way in which they inculcated and encouraged curiosity.
And there's a huge part of it. Stoicism काफ़ी ज़्यादा एक ऐसा, I think they all preach that to some extent. Do you like that concept?
I mean, लोग मुझे बोलते हैं कि you're quite stoic. I think they misconstrue me being unemotional to being stoic. Stoicism के बहुत सारे definition है. The one which most resonates with me is if something is going wrong in my life, like we all are doing constantly many things, right? We're all multitasking. You might be thinking about A, you might be working on B, you might be doing something which is C. To me, stoicism is if I can take A, which is like going horribly, is not working out, put it in a box, continue to function with B and C, and behave in a manner that A has not happened, and reapproach A at some point in the future. That is my definition of stoicism. So I think people misconstrue me not being reactive to be me being stoic, but at some level maybe I'm a little bit stoic.
I think a lot of work that you have done and how you think about things, it feels very rational and very logical. Or ऐसा like whenever you try to break down something, you try to figure out like ऐसे mind map, and you try to figure out कि यहीं point A है, point B है, we'll do this, we'll do that. So do you think how much of the decisions you make, like the big decisions, company start करने के and all of that, how much of it is rational and how much of it are emotional decisions? कि like मेरे को बस लग रहा है मैंने start कर दिया.
I would say 50-50. I would say no. Strangely, as I was younger, they were more rational, less emotional. I was maybe सोचो कि 10 साल पहले मैं था 80% rational, 20% emotional. 5 years ago I was 60% rational, 40 emotional. Now I feel like I'm 30 rational, 70 emotional. Yeah.
The majority, मतलब business decisions you take on.
Yeah, I think with time you start to trust your gut a little bit. I feel like now I kind of base my decisions on who I will be working with, who I will be partnering with, picking which industry I want to be working in, and a lot of these are very gut related, and I'm more comfortable taking those decisions today. Like I was saying earlier, by virtue of the freedom I've gained through the years.
And you're also talking about जो ingredients हैं success के, तो And you have a very different lifestyle from what, let's say, a regular viewer might be. क्योंकि usually लोग 2-3 घंटे काम करते हैं and a lot of people जो 9 to 5 जॉब्स भी करते हैं वो essentially 3-4 घंटे 5 घंटे काम
नहीं,
करते हैं.
सेम मैं भी ऐसे ही हूँ. प्रोडक्टिव काम इज़ प्रॉबली 2-3 घंटे. अनप्रोडक्टिव स्टेयरिंग एट अ स्क्रीन प्रिटेंडिंग टू वर्क इज़ द रेस्ट ऑफ द डे.
But what would be आपकी 5 let's say lifestyle choices या habits जो would say कि like हाँ these help a lot?
I think physically being fit helps a lot. I don't, but I try to go to the gym 4-5 times a week. Helps me big time. The one thing I'm not able to kind of like, my diet is okay, like what I put in my body, I'm not addicted, I don't have a sweet tooth, all of that is fine. The one thing there's this great book called Why We Sleep. I think everybody should read it. I realized this very late that sleeping is such a critical part of life, and I am just not able to get as much sleep as I require. वो ring आता है ना?
हाँ, और
Aura. So I wear that Aura ring. So every night when I go to sleep, and it's not like I don't have time. Like my time in bed is okay, but my time asleep, my REM, my deep sleep metrics, all of those are like really bad. And I've now realized how important sleep is. Sleep is more important than diet, workout, all of that put together. And I think that's one thing I want to change, but I think it's super important.
So what would be the other 4 things?
Yeah, so being physically okay, I think is very, very important. One thing, this is like a little bit personal to me, is it's horrible that there is so much hate in this ecosystem, right? Like you look at social media, you look at people, सभी लोग हमेशा सभी की बुराई कर रहे हैं, mostly anonymously. And I don't know what triggers people beyond a point to be so vicious, but being nice, like being normal and nice. I'm not saying go out of your way to please anyone. Being with nice people, working with nice people, being reasonably nice yourself is a very, very underrated quality, but I think it adds so much. Like I go out of my way to surround myself with people who are nice, albeit superficially, it doesn't matter, but you don't want to be around excessively negative people in life or excessively critical people in life. So I think I value being nice and people who are nice a lot. Third thing would be what? What was the question again? Just say it again.
5 habits या फिर maybe something you do in your life कि आप let's say सुबह उठ के आप you read something or you journal or let's say you spend a time computer पे या फिर you do whatever anything जो आपकी lifestyle का part हो.
Number 3 would be to spend not more than 30 minutes on social media a day. I feel social media हमें पता नहीं चलता but बहुत toxic है, especially like scrolling through random pictures on Instagram. I'm not talking about gaining knowledge and looking at things which are informative, but everybody updates this very pretentious lifestyle on social media which is not truly their life, right? जैसे people put the highlights of their life onto social media, but your subconscious somewhere starts to imagine that is their normal life. And you're bound to feel insecure and anxious and all of these things if you spend beyond a certain amount of time on social media. So everybody has to limit social media exposure. I would say, no more than 30 minutes of looking at others' pictures and their holidays and what they're buying and how they're traveling and all of that. I think beyond that, it's just toxic. So third habit would be that. Fourth habit would be to read. I feel like don't confine yourself between 2 metrics. Read anything you find, whatever you're interested in. If you like the human mind, read about that. If you believe the world is cyclical in nature, read history. If you love science, read about science. I would add reading bar podcast to consume information, because I feel like that is another very efficient way to get a lot of information in a short period of time. A lot of people prefer the visual medium to having to sit with a book. It's more exciting in a way. There are like not just seeing but hearing, and kind of like sensing emotions on the person's face helps as well. That would be number 4. And number 5 habit. This is like this is like something I learned in life a few years ago. As you grow in life, as you make more money in life, as you are put in this position where people consider you successful, don't let your lifestyle change beyond a point. I feel like you need, when you first get access, right, you need those 5-10 things you've dreamt of as a child. You need to like do 3-4 things. Beyond that, don't keep upgrading and making your lifestyle go higher and higher where you need more to support it. I feel one is happier off being able to afford 10 but doing 2 than being able to afford 10 and doing 10.
We would be ending this, and I really love how you think about things, and जो values and health के बारे में आपने चीज़ें बताई, and how reading and everything that shapes up who you are. And मैं बस चाहूँगा कि like if there is one thing that you would say to, let's say, a 16-year-old that is, let's say, watching this podcast, what is that one advice, or maybe it could be like a sentence or whatever you feel like, jo you think it would impact his life greatly?
I would say don't this is a very counterintuitive thing to say, but don't be so competitive. Don't compare yourself to other people. अच्छे marks नहीं आए, you didn't get into the best college in the world. All of this 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line, you'll look back and laugh at how irrelevant all of these things in life were. Find something that you love to do or you like to do, and try to build a career which allows you to do that. But stop competing, comparing, and living by these benchmarks that society has kind of created for us, because in the long run you will realize that these really don't matter.
Thank you, that was very great talking to you, और हमको
here.
काफ़ी सारी चीज़ें सीखने के लिए मिली, and it was a very positive, uplifting and inspiring podcast for me, and of course the audience would love it as well. So thank you for making time, and thank you
Thank you,
for
Shlok.
having this podcast.
Thank you.